So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And it's that time of year again where the transfer window is open. And, you know, it's something I think a lot of Aston Villa fans have been looking forward to with regards to, I suppose, just seeing who's going to come in the door, who's going to go out the door. And I know what Unai Emery has up his sleeve. And today I've got one, I suppose I've gotten somebody kind of out of left field, I suppose. Somebody that wouldn't have been on anybody's lips, certainly wasn't on my lips, and that's why I've taken some time to take a look at this guy. Obviously, his name is Cyril Ngonge from Hellas Verona, a wide player, can play in the number 10 role and can play up top as well. But he's Belgian. A Belgian national, and his father actually is a professional footballer as well. I think he played with the Democratic Republic of Congo too, so he comes from good lineage. But the reason I've taken my time with regards to this is it's been reported in Italy that Aston Villa are prepared to meet the €15 million asking price for the Verona striker Cyril Ngonge, who also is on the radar of Fiorentina as well within Serie A. Now, I suppose I had heard of this player previously. He was prodigious at 18, 19 years of age. He's now currently 23 years of age, but he was prodigious at that time. A lot of Premier League clubs were looking to sign him from Club Brugge where he first made his senior debut. So he played 4 games for Club Brugge, and then he had actually been on loan as well with PSV, played in the young PSV squad as well. And from there, from Brugge, he made a move on a free transfer to RKC in the Dutch league as well. From there also he played a year there and then moved on to Groningen, where he scored 10 goals in 42 league games at Groningen, and that earned him a free transfer move to Hellas Verona. So he's been a guy that wants to play football and values, I suppose, and is backing himself to play football, as opposed to getting into a more established team. He's wanted to grow, I suppose, within himself, which has been admirable, I suppose, really, because he was really highly thought of, as I said, at Club Brugge. He did have opportunities to go to big European teams, but he's taken the route of trying to play as many games as he possibly can. But he's an interesting watch. I've watched a lot of his stuff on Y-Scout, and what I see from him is he's 5'10", plays mostly off the right, but he does play a small bit inverted with this Verona team. If you guys want to see, he does some really, really good things. He plays well in structure, but also he does some really great. He's got such great flair and such great ingenuity with regards to his play as well. Go watch his goal against Udinese. I'm just going to tell you, it's a bicycle kick. You're going to like it. He scores both with his left and his right feet. And as I say, you can see that he's somebody who's wanted to take the progressive step in his career and play football the whole way, as opposed to getting maybe lost in the chaff and the wheat of going to the underage structure of a big European club. And I admire that, I really do. And if you think of it this way as well, you could probably liken the way that he's taken his own development to the way that Ollie Watkins did, whereby he's had opportunities to move on, he's had opportunities to move to huge clubs, and he's shunned them to go and to play football. Essentially, Ollie Watkins did that at Exeter. He did that at Brentford as well. He stayed an extra year at Exeter, stayed an extra year at Brentford as well, and then he moved on to Aston Villa. And he was comfortable moving on to Aston Villa because he felt that he had learned his trade. I'm not liking these two guys from that point of view, from the amount of goals that Ollie Watkins scored at Exeter and at Brentford. Ngonge doesn't have that kind of output. But what he has done is he has grown through the leagues as he's gone to play within the Dutch league, within the Belgian league, and now in Serie A as well. Over the course of the last, so he's I think he made the move. I can't remember exactly when he made the move. I think it might have been January last year when he made the move to Hellas Verona. And since then, he's played 30 league games, scoring 8 goals. Which is a pretty decent return for somebody so young, making the move to a different league as well. Let's take a little look at some of the stuff here in him with regards to our scouting series as well. So that's what he looks like. There's Cyril himself there. He's 5'10", as I said. He is right-footed. He's left-footed, should I say, and he plays mostly off the right-hand side as well. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take a look at him in comparison to both the wide midfielders that we have, or the wingers that we have, and also in comparison to Ollie Watkins, because, as I mentioned, the two of them have had a similar trajectory, the way that they've come up through the lower grades, or grown through the grades of football, where they wanted to play football, should I say, and progress at their own rate. We can see here by his heat map that he plays off the right hand side. Ollie Watkins also played off the right hand side previously as well, when he was at Brentford, and then transitioned to being a striker. I personally think that if Ngonge was to come in here, he could do a job up top. He is still raw, and the reason that I'm mentioning that as well is that today we have learned that John Duran may be leaving the club, whether it be on loan or whether it be on a full-time transfer. AC Milan are really interested, and I think that what you kind of lose from a John Duran transfer being the fact that Duran is, like, he's been known as the chaos agent, really. You know, when he comes on, he's big, he's powerful, he throws himself around. You've got more technical ability in Ngonge. He is a more technical player. He's very good defensively for somebody who plays on the right hand side as well, and we can see that by his by the amount of ball recoveries that he has there from playing on that right hand side for Verona. He's also not afraid to take a shot. We can see there that the pink being Ollie Watkins, and we know Ollie Watkins is quite economical with his shooting now, but Ngonge does take shots at a decent clip as well. He creates shot creating actions. We can see him there. I mentioned that he was a flair player. Remember, these percentiles that you're seeing here are within Europe's top 5 leagues. So he's in the top 7% of all shot creating actions for any wide player, or sorry, any striker, should I say, because these percentiles are done with regards to where he sits from a striker point of view. So he's in the top 7 percentages for shot creating actions. And he's not too shabby with goal creating actions as well. But looking, I think, at the piece that kind of that intrigues me the most is when you look at what he's like in possession. He's pretty decent at dribbling. He completes quite a lot of dribbles. And remember, the dribble percentage rate that we show here, remember, as always, with regards to this, he has attempted nearly 3 dribbles per game. He's completing 1.71, which is pretty decent, but he does get dispossessed for the other ones. We can see there that dispossession for a dribble shouldn't really be counted against him, because when we look at how many times he's dispossessed throughout the course of the whole game, he comes in at a pretty average level. So he's not like a Leon Bailey or a Zaniolo, which we will take a look at in a moment, who get dispossessed at a disproportional rate to the rest of wingers in Europe. He is pretty economical with the ball from the point of view as he doesn't lose it an awful lot. We can see it there as well. Also, you know, his dribbling does lead to key passes. We can see the amount of key passes he puts in per 90 minutes is 1.39, which puts him in the top 15% of all strikers within Europe, which is absolutely fantastic. He's played 120 games in his short career. He started 86 of them. He scored 30 goals. So even if you account for the fact that he's playing wide right, and excuse me, that's where he's played predominantly within his career, he's still scoring at a 1 in 4 rate for the amount of games that he's played, and he has 11 assists as well. So going back to the key passes, the shot creating actions, and the goal creating actions level that he does possess, that's fantastic. And when we look at him here in comparison with Ollie Watkins, yes, you know, his goal per shot ratio is lower. His shot on target rate is lower. That often happens for a wide player, because obviously you can see here as well that the distance of his average shot is coming in at 20 meters out from goal as well. Obviously, Ollie Watkins being a striker, scoring goals from inside the box, he's going to have an opportunity to have a lot more shots on target and a better goal per shot ratio as well. But what we can see and what we don't see, should I say, from this year is his defensive attributes that Ngonge brings to the table. I haven't put them up against Ollie Watkins because we know Ollie Watkins is a stand up there, occupy the centre halves and press high type of player. But if you look at any of Ngonge's defensive attributes, they're really decent. And I think I see nothing from watching him play as well that would lead me to believe that he wouldn't be able to press in the Premier League. He's actually quite good at it as well. And you know what? He's really good at running the channels. So I think somebody like him playing off of Watkins could be quite decent as well, albeit he will take an awful lot of fine-tuning, I think, as the years go on. I suppose he could be a kind of a project player like a John Duran that we would bring in and maybe not see an awful lot of time this year, only when is needed. So I did mention that I wanted to put him up here against our other wide players in Diaby, Zaniolo and Bailey. And apologies to Leon Bailey, I didn't realise that you were covered over there by some of Zaniolo's dispossessed numbers. And when I said that Bailey and Zaniolo were dispossessed, that just goes to show how much they get dispossessed in per 90 minutes. They're really like, they went off my chart. And that's not a negative, I suppose, because they are the ball carriers within this team. And we've spoken that we need to have more ball carriers, albeit, you know, Leon Bailey doing a fantastic job this year. You can see Zaniolo getting dispossessed an awful lot. We need him to tighten up his ability to be able to carry the ball. But when we look at Ngonge here, the green lines, we can see here that he's quite productive when we put him up against the players that we already have. Now, Moussa Diaby is probably the best and the most rounded player that we have this season, or over the last 365 days, that we can see there in the red line, the darker red line, Zaniolo in the pink line, and Leon Bailey in the white line. Leon Bailey's numbers, I should have actually done a comparison between start of this season and end of last season, but unfortunately I don't have those numbers anymore. But his numbers have gotten way better, as we've all known this season. But when we look at Ngonge playing maybe on that wide right situation, and when we look at his percentiles here on the left-hand side, we can see, you know, some of them don't look great. We can see there specifically in the passing and the passing percentages, the possession stats and so on is not great. When you look at him play the game of football, and you look at him play for Verona, and this is why I think ultimately he will end up as a striker. When you look at him play for Verona, he's very much given the ball, run and try and get crosses in. So the amount of touches he gets, the amount of passes he attempts, his pass completion rate is negatively affected by how he's asked to play for Verona. And then that's obviously going to bring down the amount of progressive passes that you have and so on and so forth. So within the passing and possession statistics point here, you can see why those first four are low, and they are low by the role, because of the role he's been asked to play at Verona. He is their ball carrier, he is their maverick, they give the ball to him and they ask him to make something happen, and in fairness he does. He does, when we look at the fact that he's he's scored 8 goals for them already in 30 appearances, and that's only league goals and league appearances for them as well. So what I want to look, where I suppose I really look for this, is his shooting statistics, even up against wide players. You know, the amount of shots he has per 90 is still high. Shots on target per 90 is still high in comparison to what we saw from an Ollie Watkins. You know, when you make the change out to a wide player as opposed to a full-time striker, you know, he's doing a really good job on getting shots on target from a wide player as well. Specifically, I think when we look there at how he compares to any of the players that we have currently, Diaby, Bailey and Zaniolo, he's actually performing at a better rate than those guys with his on-target percentage and the amount of shots on target that he has as well. So he's an interesting study. I don't know whether we actually end up signing him. We were linked to him in Tutor Mercato earlier on, the back end of December, but I never got a chance to look at him or put anything up, and I thought it'd be a nice one to start off, because I think we will be signing an attacker. I think with Unai Emery, he's going to want to sign people who are moldable. He's going to want to sign people who are flexible and can play in two different positions. We've seen that with the Abbey signing. We've seen that with the Zaniolo signing. We've seen that even in how he likes to play Leon Bailey. And I think this is somebody that we've been linked with, and it could all turn out to be absolute nonsense, but I think he's just an interesting player that wouldn't cost an awful lot of money in the greater scheme of things. I know 15 million has been mooted and has been thrown around. His market value on transfer market is 6 million. And I think, you know, if Aston Villa want to do a deal there, and maybe if they are looking to get rid of John Duran, which I personally wouldn't like to see, but if they are and they make some sort of profit on him, you know, maybe this could be an economical way of picking up somebody who maybe offers that small bit more from a technical point of view. Maybe not the same from a robustness point of view, but from a technical view, he offers this to the team, and maybe that's what Unai Emery wants to do. Wants to bring in somebody who can do that. But could be just a simple case of bringing this guy in to add as well on top of John Duran. And as I say, why not? Because we are lacking maybe in the area of, you know, another person who can come in and play striker, specifically with the Conference League runs that we have. It would be nice to see somebody else come in, but yeah, as I said, this guy, an interesting view, I'd implore you all to go and watch him, you know. And I've always said before, if you've got Wisecout, watch his clips on Wisecout. You see the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you want to just turn on a YouTube clip of him, do watch maybe his clips from a specific game, or 3 games or 4 games. I watch games and where he scored, because I wanted to see whether it was just a case of whether he scored or not in those games, and whether he was ineffectual otherwise. So I watched the game against Sassuolo, I watched the game against Udinese where he scored that bicycle kick, and the last one I watched was against, it escapes me now, it was against Calgary. Yeah, so I watched the game against Calgary there. I just had to check. And he was effective. He was great at running from central areas into the channels, drawing defenders, and then maybe either cutting back in on his left foot, or else you know, whipping the ball across as well. And as I say, you got to see his bicycle kick as well. It was great technique, maybe about 10 yards out from goals, but still a great technique to be able to finish it. And he does bring a sense of flair to the team. As I say, very, very highly thought of young kid at 16, 17, 18 years of age. Played with Belgian national teams all the way up until under 19s, and kind of dipped off the radar then since. Maybe he would probably say himself that he has been on a bit of a reclamation tour at the moment, but he's doing well at Hellas Verona. And you know, as I say, I don't know whether he signs for Aston Villa or whether Unai Emery actually even wants him. But it would be interesting to see if we do go for a player like this. And I don't think we're going to break the bank for a striker. For a lot of people talk about Paulo Dybala, I know it's only 13 million, but I just don't know whether that's the kind of guy that's going to come in. I would absolutely love it. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely would. And I would be doing cartwheels around the place here. But, you know, I think we're going to be linked to a lot of players like Cyril and Ngonge. And I think that... you know, he's probably mad to move to the Premier League, considering his father did play with Watford and Huddersfield Town, Kilmarnock, QPR as well. I think he played with. So his father came to the British game, I suppose, in '98, if I'm not mistaken, and played all the way through until he retired in 2002. And he had a pretty decent record with Watford as well. In the Premier League. So this guy comes from good stock. I think his father was over 10 goals anyway for Watford. And he was that kind of midfielder / striker as well. It was Michael Ngonge. But that's if you guys want to go and do your homework on him, you'll probably be more informed than I will. I'm just trying to chat off the top of my head. So I suppose in kind of finishing, Ngonge is kind of an attacker. He can play both sides, so he can play either wing or as a centre forward, and I think his versatility is one of his great strengths. You know, he looks to be pretty adaptable. I didn't watch any of his time at Groningen, but he looks to be pretty adaptable, and moving to Serie A, obviously against those good defences, doesn't seem to have knocked him off his stride as well. So yeah, adapting to that situation is something that he seems to have done in his stride. As I say, he's mostly utilised on the right hand side of our attacking tree. We have Bailey that plays out there. We have Diaby that goes out there as well. Do we really need somebody else that plays on that wide right situation? Unless we're looking at moving one of those players over to the to the other side. But he's, as I say, he is interesting. He's an interesting player, and whether he's somebody that signs for Aston Villa or not, I don't know. But I just said I'd start off our scouting series with Cyril Ngonge of Hellas Verona, and we will obviously be coming back with an awful lot more of these. Probably going to try and do some ones that I think are interesting fits for Aston Villa, and some ones that we're going to be linked with. This guy we were linked with, But as I say, I don't know, will we sign him? If I was to give it a probability, I'd probably say 4 out of 10 he signs for Aston Villa. But he's an interesting study anyway. And as I say, we'll look at everybody we're linked to it. Might be nonsense. 99% of them are absolute nonsense. But what it will do is some of them will have a kernel of truth. And it's those ones that have a kernel of truth will allow us to know what type of player we're looking for in this transfer window, if we're looking for anybody at all. Thanks very much for your time, everybody. I'm going to leave it at that. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy. And all that's left to say is up the Villa.